This one was particularly interesting because I literally got those materials left over from a wedding that they were throwing away, and I just had to have them because they're purple. First off, let's start by saying hi to all of our fans. You know, we've got some floral fanatics out there. I'm loving that everyone's liking and subscribing to our YouTube channel. Super excited. So let's go. Lately, we've been doing a lot of dried and faux flowers, but this video is going to be extra special because it features all your fresh floral arrangements. These are some great materials that I use, and I always like to go to my favorite wholesaler nearby to pick out the freshest flowers out there.
But you're not really a florist, are you? Or are you?
I guess I am now. Once you get paid to do something, you're a professional, right?
So a florist is somebody who arranges flowers, or like?
Yeah, a florist is someone who designs and arranges the flowers, but your wholesaler would be where the florists go to get the freshest and most current and up-to-date flowers available. So one that is commonly used would be mum spray. Mum spray are very pretty and dainty, and they definitely give a pop of color, but they're also pretty hardy. Another really popular filler right now would be baby's breath, along with ruscus greenery. Oh, there's Isabel. And some other types of greenery. I love doing a mix match of all the greeneries to give it a really full and layered effect. Also, we use roses all the time, especially with weddings and other types of events. They're a hardy flower and they're absolutely timeless. That's a really special kind of fern, but it actually has these prickly little thorns on it, so you have to be careful when you're placing those ones. But they definitely give it a very kind of jungle vibe.
I swear I saw this stuff just growing near my house.
Oh yeah, that's the Boston fern, and we also have eucalyptus as well. As you can see here, I'm dethorning the rose and taking all of the extra petals off. That's something you want to really make sure that you do when working with fresh flowers, is always take a lot of the extra greens and petals off. Otherwise, they're taking all the water and the water won't get to your flower. Whenever you decide you are ready to dethorn your roses, make sure that you're wearing gloves. That's super important. You don't want to keep stabbing yourself. It's a mess. Now, I prefer the hinges, but you don't want to do it too close down because it will actually damage the stem of the rose. You just want to knock the tip off of the thorn and enough so it doesn't keep stabbing you. With roses, I always try and pick off all the kind of dead petals on the outside too, and then it gives you the freshest look. Smell them roses. Hydrangeas actually come with a packet of water on the end, which is so cool. So you want to keep that until you're just about ready to arrange. But what I like to do is cut those bags of water off and pull most of the leaves off, and then just give it a fresh trim and put it in nice fresh water. Cold water is always great and preferable because most of these have come out of a very cold refrigerator. If you're getting it from a wholesaler or your florist, you want to make sure most of the leaves are off so that way the flowers can actually get the water and drink the water. So whenever I'm doing weddings and events, I really tend to try and lean towards hardier flowers and things that are going to survive so your clients are happier with it and they can take them home. There's some really delicate and beautiful and expensive flowers out there, but you know, they don't always last as long as you would like them to. So I always do what my clients want me to, but I do give them fair warning that, hey, you know, if they're picking a flower that I know is a bit delicate, it may not last as long. And if they're okay with that, that's great. And if not, then I try and choose something else that's the right color and right style for the concept they want, but, you know, something that's a little bit smarter. The biggest thing with fresh flowers is you really have to do them the day before and get the materials about 2 days before your event. Often people will even try and put all of the arrangements together that morning. Now, if you have a large enough commercial fridge, you can do it a day or two ahead of time and it won't be ruined, but a lot of times you want to do them the day of the event or the evening before, because they'll simply just go bad. Once you've cut them and mess with them and take them out of their environment and take them already from the store into these buckets, they've already transitioned once. So once they're transitioned yet again into just foam, eventually the foam will run out of water. And, once the flowers have moved and been chopped and cut and manipulated enough times, they're not really as happy. So they're not going to live forever. I know you want your clients to be impressed with how fresh everything looks, and hopefully when they have them, they're going to last another few days. Of course, we all know fresh flowers are not cheap. So the reason they're not cheap is because there's extra waste that goes into it, and also the fact that you have to do it so quickly and in a timely fashion, and you have to throw them away pretty much right afterwards. So there's that. But they smell amazing, they look absolutely stunning, and, nothing really quite beats fresh flowers. Some of the arranging actually goes into these foam blocks, and other arrangements are simply put together like a bouquet and then placed inside mason jars or other types of vases. In the mason jar arrangement, I create those kind of like I would a bouquet or a bridal bouquet. Each stem is placed and rotated over and over again. It's a beautiful method to get all of the flowers arranged. There we go. Oh, it's so pretty. Ta-da! And then there's another way to put them all in the foam. Now the foam creates an entirely different look. It's much fuller. It can be closer to the base. You can get more and more flowers in that one. But again, it's preference, and it depends what type of vase or look you're going for. And what's great about this is you can either place it on top of a taller vase, or you can put it right on the table and have it be, right level with the table and put the greenery around it. Another thing that's great about this is you don't lose all your vases. If you just want to give them to your clients and let them take it home, you're not really losing out because you were going to throw that away anyhow. The next step is to figure out what materials and how many of each material you'd like in each arrangement, and then you're going to trim those before you place it inside your foam or before you put it inside your bouquet or other arrangement. And that's also to get the right height that you want. Boy, those hydrangeas is beautiful. I love the purple. One of my favorite things to do is work on a spinning or rotating table. I have these amazing cocktail tables that'll just spin with me as I arrange. Another great thing to have would be a lazy Susan. You could put that on your table and let the arrangement turn for you and do all of that work. That helps you get a more symmetrical or round shape to your arrangement. I like to be able to see all of my materials ready to go and ready to be placed in these arrangements. So as you can see, when they're in the buckets, they're nice and organized, they're freshly trimmed, they're ready to go. And then what I do is kind of shop for my own materials. So if I know I want, 2 or 3 roses in each, and, several pieces of each type of greenery and baby's breath or whatever materials I may be using, I'm going to take what I believe will fit in each arrangement and put a little pile together so that way they're easy to access and ready to use. Now, sometimes I'll use plant food, which you can get anywhere. There's arguments left and right on whether that's very important or not. Mostly we just know that flowers absolutely 100% need water. So if you have water, you're good to go. If you have a little plant food, that's great. They're always going to perk up and be a little happier. Whether they really last longer or not, it's hard to tell because each flower is different. Each flower's travels to get to you is a little bit different, and the temperature and all of that has a lot to do with how healthy they are. Keeping them cooler seems to keep them crisp and lasting longer, but there's also other times where you need the flowers to open up. So you may have to go place them out in the sun or put them in warm water so that way they'll open, like lilies or roses. Sometimes they come too tight and you actually have to get them to open up before your event. So there's lots to learn about floral design and becoming a florist, but you can definitely start here by subscribing and watching more of our videos. I don't mind if they pop out a little bit, but I don't like them to be too much higher than everything. And then I just felt like there needs to be a tiny bit more in the middle here of something. When you stick the flowers in, you don't want to keep sticking them over and over again, because then you'll just have Swiss cheese instead of foam. You'll just have a bunch of different holes and may actually fall apart pretty quickly. So you want to try and just put the flower in or the greenery in one time and leave it there if possible. You may have to take a few pieces out to trim it more or arrange it a bit differently, but for the most part, try and keep them where they are and wait till the end before you start moving things around, because you'll be surprised after you start getting all of the greenery in and all of your beautiful flowers, it'll start coming together. If you are creating an arrangement with mostly baby's breath or any flowers really, but you're going for a more rounded effect, you definitely want to angle the flowers appropriately. So if you're working from the top, you want to angle those flowers up and out, and then if you're working from underneath, you want to make sure that the flowers are, at an upward angle almost, so that way you're getting that full and round effect. Also, working the flowers in and the other greenery in is important to do it at those angles. And I always like to have the roses just slightly longer than the other flowers because they are the stars of the show, so we want to really show them off. Okay, so if you're working with baby's breath, it can be a little tricky and it could be very daunting if you don't have experience doing it. So my recommendation is to get a batch of it together at a similar height at the top and then trim it all in one piece and kind of stab it in together. You don't want to put each individual little piece of baby's breath because they'll just break and then they flop around, and then you have to trim those pieces and it's very frustrating. So you want to get a nice grouping of them together and then put them into the foam. And people are loving the all baby's breath look with some greenery. You got to get them really full though, and it's difficult to get them all kind of a similar height to give it the effect that you want. But with a little practice and more videos, you'll definitely find your way. It's so interesting because back in the day, baby's breath was considered just a filler, and it was actually very cheap and inexpensive, and someone referred to it as like a gas station flower because you would always see roses and baby's breath at the gas station, which I don't really fully agree with that. I think that baby's breath is a beautiful accent piece. I've also seen it executed beautifully for weddings where it's all baby's breath, but it's interesting to see the trends change because now baby's breath is so sought after and desired that it's actually a very expensive filler now. So it's almost the same price as, roses or hydrangeas. It's interesting. Of course, everyone thinks that putting tons and tons of greenery in their arrangements or fillers in the arrangements is going to save them money somehow, but all of that stuff costs money too. So it really just has to do with what types of flowers you're using, the amount of materials you're using, and how much time it takes to put it together. So I would actually feel like I wanted to charge more money for these baby's breath arrangements because they are so time consuming and tedious to put together, where the other arrangements with more flowers, I would probably charge a little less for my time, and it would be a similar take on materials actually. Fresh, like I said, just costs a little bit more because there's more risk involved with it, there's more waste involved in it, and it's a little bit trickier to order them because you don't know if all of them are going to look perfect or not. I definitely throw away flowers often if they're not looking up to par for the arrangement, so you always have to account for that, and they just don't last quite as long. Make sure to like and hit subscribe below so you can see more of our DIY floral arrangement tips. Can't wait to fill you in our next one, which is going to be mason jar arrangements.
Yeah. Or feathers.
Ooh, next up we have tips on feather arrangements and mason jar arrangements, so stay tuned. Make sure you check out our rental inventory page with Studio 131, orangelake.com.